over these years. Before we have our stretch break coming up soon, we have one further presenter, which is wonderful. Dr. Vismai Schoenfelder is a dedicated mentor within this profession, championing the importance of long-term patient care and its powerful benefits for lasting health and wellness. He teaches that a life free from stress and nerve interference leads to better vitality and supports his philosophy through a quarterly newsletter that inspires patients to live well, joyfully, and with purpose. As an accomplished author with a passion for pediatric health, Dr. Vismai brings clarity to families seeking healthier futures. So will you please welcome Dr. Vismai Schoenfelder.
Can you hear me? Good morning, or good afternoon. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So where am I shooting? Yeah, so I got the invite to come and speak in New Zealand. I've never been here before. It's so nice to meet all the New Zealanders and get a feel for the college. I especially enjoyed Callie's talk this morning on just the thought that's going behind the colleges. The vision they've got of the future, their innovation, their use of tech, the raising of you students, the alumni, this event. It's just really impressive. I get to speak at a lot of conferences around the world. Some get organised really well, some are a lot looser, and this is a flavour somewhere in between, I guess. Can I get a show of hands of who the CAs are? Yeah, there's a few in the room. So I think with my talk today, usually the CAs like this talk the most, because the CAs that I worked with in Amsterdam, they kind of designed all this work, and it was through them that we really built the practice. So if you are a CA here, just really listen up and really take some notes, and please approach me after the talk, yeah? So I don't want to blow my trumpet, but I've got a really outlier metric as far as retention metrics go within the profession. I'm not like a hard sales, pushy kind of person, but most people really stuck around. I saw 2 or 3 new people per year, and the rest was all just happy people returning to care, which means they were coming on average 2,000 times. So I'm not a high volume practitioner. I always see between 120 and 150 people per week. I can do that with my eyes closed. It's very relaxing for me, and I plan never to stop adjusting, actually. So yes, it is nice. Huh? That gives a lifetime value, though, of about 97,000 euros back then. That was in 2013, but it really took me 8 years to get to that point. So to get a really high retention metric, it's not just a weekend course. To earn the trust and the loyalty of real families with real problems, paying real money, spending real time coming in, it's something you really have to earn, right? I do have a vision because I love chiropractic so much, and I'd love to have 1,000 chiropractors before 2030, all having a PVA of at least 100. Like this just is, Malcolm was saying this morning, he used this analogy of the Nokia phone, that the Nokia phone just went obsolete and they didn't do anything wrong. And I really believe that chiropractic's got a bit of this coming too. It was really nice to hear Callie's talk. I was so inspired by that. But at the same time, I just left the Melbourne airport, and in the bookstore, there was like all these nervous system books, Vagus Nerve Reset, and none of it was written by chiropractors. Nothing was mentioned about chiropractic, and that's just really disappointing. So we've got a real we've got to be vigilant, guys. So let's step up and let's just keep people under care. One other thing I just want to share with you, this is just not a fun fact, but it's a fact about me. I'm one of the few chiropractors that's actually died. So in 1996, I collapsed on a beach in Africa, woke up in London, and it was really interesting because I had a chiropractor's post-it note was on the inside of my diary, but I was unconscious, right? And it happened to be a chiropractor, Cam Potter. I don't know, some people in the room probably know Cameron. But he started adjusting me when I was in my coma. So I'm one of the few chiropractors that's kind of been adjusted coming out of coma. And I'd never heard of the Green Books, huh? I was in 3rd year and I took a few years off. And so I got to see universal intelligence. I really just was in universal intelligence, and that flavor's kind of never really left me before. So that really drives my work with chiropractic. It doesn't mean you need to have a near-death experience like I had to be a good chiropractor and to retain clients. But certainly the lens of coming from your work philosophically is really, really important. And I'll share the tools with you today that kind of help people ascend through their levels of understanding. But universal intelligence is a really beautiful place. For me, getting adjusted after I come out of the coma, I was living in an apartment above Cam's chiropractic office, and he would adjust me, and I would just go into this extreme bliss. My nervous system was really delicate. You know, I hadn't eaten for 6 months, so I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk again. And I had the feeling just, because everything was so delicate, the adjustment just really triggered things a lot more intensely. Okay, so what I want to share with you today, a little bit about our practice. I'm in practice in Singapore. I've been a chiropractor for almost 30 years. Still love it. I also want to talk about community. I do believe our in-person, real-world offerings in our practices are going to have to take on a whole new level to keep people's attention as we move forward. People want a place to belong. And I also want to talk about technology and the importance of embracing this as a profession and making sure we become a part of the tech movement. So the practice. So I practice in Singapore. I've got a couple of photos here for you. We're on 53 square metres. It's real small. You New Zealanders and Aussies here, you've probably got these massive practices. We rotate the art every few months. I tend to not to have any clinical kind of spines or posters or something in the practice. We do have a lending library that gets added to 2 or 3 books every quarter. We've got a really small little front desk there. I like having a natural wooden floor. We have an open plan practice, which I love. I did do closed plan practicing for 15 years, but now I just really enjoy the open plan space. But if you're going to invite people into chiropractic care, just make your space really representing your own values. Like if you want to promote to have a natural healthcare system, and everything the person touches is synthetic, from fake flowers through to synthetic carpets through to... It's just naturalists, real hardcore naturalists amongst us, and they're the ones that choose long-term chiropractic care. They're just really sensitive to all that sort of stuff. So you can't be saying one thing and then doing completely the opposite. So we renovated this place. We just put in the good floor. We brought in some natural light from the back. We painted the ceiling, and that's all we needed to do. We chose our... tables. These are the Thule tables. I just chose them because I like the wooden design. They're robust, they're quality. But we've got a really minimal office. There's not a whole lot of clutter. A couple of people have talked today. I think Chris was or somebody talked about all the things we're carrying through our profession. And I think just getting back to simplicity and almost like a form of emptiness within a chiropractic office setting is really clarifying. So for me, I walk into that space and I'm just super clear. There's not a whole lot going on in my mind because the space just really dictates emptiness and simplicity. Okay, so that's, you invite people into this atmosphere, really important. All the 5 senses need to be triggered. But then we also, to get people to come back forever, willingly, not pushing them, not motivating them with getting their symptoms better, but people just coming in for chiropractic care for I don't know what reason, we started to invite them into an extremely strict rhythm. So we had what we called a 6-month, let's say, client journey that people would go through, and they just go through these touch points, and every 6 months we would just repeat it. So some of those rhythms, they work really well on an immediate post-adjustment kind of rhythm. So there's always a couple of things we asked our clients to do: go for a walk, drink some water, how to stand, how to sit. Some of those rhythms worked really well, like on a monthly rhythm. So we had, for example, book of the month. Doesn't sound like much, but it just brings a bit of volatility into the practice. If somebody's been coming into your office for 10 years, it's really nice that they just see these growth and these changes. Some work really well on a 6-week interval. So we introduce one chiropractic principle every 6 weeks. It takes a few years to get through the principles, but we kind of use that principle for those 6 weeks to answer any questions that clients have from that principle. Some work really well on a quarterly level, so we have our quarterly newsletter. And I'm kind of like a believer in print material too. So it's really beautifully designed, but I do like occupying space in people's homes. I think print media is really not dead. This newsletter, by the way, it's a real tool. Like, it's not just providing more information. I mean, the world's got enough information. This has just got a really strict rhythm to it, and our CAs use it as a tool to, almost like as a prompt to help me build the practice. So that's the quarterly. Then we've got the rhythm of every 6 months. So we do a community challenge every 6 months. For 25 years, we used to do a juice cleanse, and the last 3 or 4 years, we've turned it into an intermittent fasting cleanse. But we sometimes have 350 people not eating for a few days. This was in Holland. And then at the end of each community challenge, we'd always have a free open day. So and we'd always have a back page ad on in the local community newspaper that they had there. So we'd have 350 people not eating, and then we'd have a full back page ad about this free open day that we'd have, and that's just how we built the practice. We did that for the first 5 years in Holland, and yeah. And then the last one is we do a free adjusting day once a year. So most people that come into chiropractic care long term, they are philanthropists in some way or another. They're either volunteering at their church, they're sponsoring kids' schools in Africa. People that come in long term, they like to know that you're kind of making the world a better place to be through the business. So we do once a year where we say, come in, anyone can pay whatever they like, and we're going to give these Indian school children, particularly girls in rural India, a school uniform. And we've been going there every year now since 2011. But sometimes a client will pay $25,000 for an adjustment. I just find that really interesting when you just say to somebody, you can pay whatever you like for your adjustment. And people just really can pay a lot of money. There's also people that pay half the price of what it normally is. But it's just interesting when you really open that up. So this is what we've kind of friendly termed the vortex. And I believe that people kind of stay in care because of it. It really helps us keep our attention in the real world. So I'd say with our practice, 99% of people will enter with a symptom. And who agrees with that? Most people, I'd like to think they'd all come in for vitality, but in my practice, I'd say 1 in 1,000 do that. The rest, it's all like, fix this, preferably with one crack and, with a discount. So we've got this, on one hand, we've got this really ideal drink the Kool-Aid, we all love chiropractic, and on the other hand, you've got the public perception is just like, they just want their neck cracked and move on. This idea of going to a chiropractor lifelong, it's just a really big jump, and I'll talk about how we ascend them soon. So anyway, BJ, he's my favourite chiropractor. I love BJ. He always said that symptoms sell, and they do. Of course they do. It's a great thing to identify with, right? But they're really bad. They just don't sell for long term. Because chiropractic, if somebody's like under the age of 40, generally we get pretty good results within 4 weeks. So if you haven't changed the reason why people are coming into you within 4 weeks, they're out. It's like last in, last out. But I do believe that they remain in care in our office because of this vortex. So how do we ascend them, right? These people, they come in. If we just think about a client's appreciation of chiropractic or a client's appreciation of me, what their proactivity is with their healing, what their issue is, what they're coming in for, PBA, so how many times will they come, and what's their evolution. So like I said, almost everybody starts with pain. You can take a photo of this at the end, actually. It's quite a nice thing, but it's a lot to digest in this short talk. But they really don't care about me. They're quite apathetic about chiropractic too. These people might come in 6 times at the most. They're really hard. So the very first tool that I use is my onboarding welcome booklet. Once again, it's not an informative thing. It's actually to create engagement in the process. So the only goal I have is to move a person from being apathetic to having some sort of awareness in the healing process, that they've got some sort of agency. When you mix internal motivation with behavioural change, it's just a lot easier to guide somebody's behaviour. So I just want them to kind of experience the change. So I think in chiropractic, a lot of us do this cognitive explanation. I think one of the speakers was saying today how you think you've explained everything and you've done your review and you've done your report and no one really hears anything. I've sat in chiropractors' car parks before and just asked them, when someone's taking them through the path to wellness, I've just asked them, what do you think, what was that? And they haven't got a clue. Most people really don't have a clue. And we think that because we've stood there with the poster or stood there with the x-rays, that the client gets it, but they really don't. But what I've noticed, if we get them experiencing things, I'll give you a really simple example. I get everybody, to complement the adjustment, I ask people to stand on 2 legs evenly. It sounds really simple, right? But most people they're always standing like this. And that's not going to really help support the adjustment. So that I just asked them to stand like this. This is one of the rules I have with a habit tracker in the welcome booklet. You cannot imagine how many people say, I'm standing at the supermarket, I'm at a birthday party, everyone stands like this, my wife stands like that, my kids do this. This is just such a simple way to build internal referrals and occupy space in people's minds and take them from this apathy into basic awareness of their process. And then they start to get a bit more attracted to the idea. So these are people that will come into maintenance care. You can build a really nice practice with this. They'll come in 20 to 50 times. If you're particularly good looking or you're charismatic with your communication, you'll get people to here. Like I said, you can build a really nice business. But something happens after this. After this, you really have to know how to play the game. You really have to know how to guide your community. And it's really like you cross a chasm, actually. So I call this part kind of practice hell. I really don't want to be stuck in this, you know. It took me 8 years to get out of it in Holland, and I'm on year 6 now in Singapore, and my PVA's just tipped over 100, and I can just feel it coming. It's such a satisfying feeling. But the first 5 years has been kind of, hard work. So we cross this chasm, and this is where people start to adopt chiropractic care. This is where people come in for health reasons. They'll come in 50 to 100 times, and often these people will be going through some sort of emotional thing. So recently I had a lady come in and she just shared how her daughter was getting bullied at one school and they had to put her onto another school. She was just really heartbroken. So in that moment, like Liz was talking about the art of touch this morning, I touch her differently, I speak differently, I lend her different books on emotional awareness, and this is where trust starts to emerge. After that comes affinity. So we've gone from apathy to awareness to attraction to adoption to affinity. The biggest things with affinity people, they're coming in for performance care, and these are the people that love tech. I work in Singapore, it's an extremely tech country. These are the people with wearables. They count their steps, they wear their Whoop bands, their Aura rings, soon their Chiro rings. And they're just really engaged in the process. These people are often money rich and time poor, and they often don't refer. They just rather get in, get out, and get the job done, and they're satisfied. The difference between them and the top one is that these become advocates. So these people really refer. And we've got prompts for the CAs, right? So a CA can get extremely skilled in using the welcome booklet to generate new clients. We gamify this. So in our intake, we try and get 3 referrals from every new person that comes into the office. And we're not allowed to directly ask for the referral. That's kind of the game that we play. And we get it 8 times out of 10, we get that. So moving through these things, as we go higher, we just use different tools. So for example, down the bottom is the welcome booklet. That takes us to the orange, from red to orange. From the orange to the maintenance, that might be one of the health talks I give. From there to the green zone, that might be the lending library books that we use on emotional health, or a talk I give. Going into affinity, if someone's wearing a fitness Fitbit or watching their Apple Watch, ask them about their data. These people love it. No one ever asks them about data. And then you've got to relate that back to the chiropractic adjustment. It's super, super powerful. We've measured 1,400 adjustments in the last 18 months, and it's really cool. Going from affinity into advocacy, these are people that often join our community challenges. Or if we have a birthday party at the practice, these are the people that always come. And they need to belong. They love belonging to somewhere. Okay, so tools are my playbook. Like I said, we've got the newsletters, the welcome booklets. I suggest you start with building a really great welcome booklet for yourself. This is a first impression. Don't print it on a cheap printer in your practice. Really get it done professionally. It's a tool, though. This is not like an information brochure. It's very much a forward-facing thing for the client. It takes me about 3 to 5 minutes to fill in. This is not the note-taking for the registration board. It's not as detailed as that. This is just something where people can look at home and we can generate referrals from that welcome booklet. Once you've done that, build these newsletters. We do one every quarter. One of the biggest questions in a high retention office is that people have to know the answer to this question: what's next? So we seed every newsletter with what's next. What's our next issue? You can make the newsletters. You're welcome to copy all my titles too, but the training's really important. Malcolm mentioned this morning, he had this list of things, and training was one of them. And to have a newsletter or a tool without training, it's kind of defeats the purpose, actually. So we use all different topics. So over the years, we just have an archive. These just remain as old copies laying around our practice, and they're beautiful to look at. We get them professionally designed. And I love writing. I love coming up with ideas, and yeah. So community. Community's a big one. Like, you really have to make an effort to build community. A weekend like this is fantastic, but imagine doing this with your practice also. It's wonderful. You get your favourite people together, and you're the common denominator. They often don't know one another, and they just talk about chiropractic when they're together. It's actually wonderful. So what we do, we have like art. We change art on the walls every few months. The one thing about creating alchemy in a chiropractic office, the formula for alchemy is to make fixed assets volatile, and then to make volatile assets fixed. So you have this switch between not becoming too stable in the practice, but at the same time not changing things every week, right? So we just change the artwork every few months. We get the artist brings some friends. We just have a small talk about chiropractic and a get-together with everyone. It's very informal. It's not a practice-building thing, but it's really helping us retain the clients for sure. Just going to check my time. Then I do, every now and then I do not a healthcare class, but a topic talk. So recently we had a quarterly newsletter for anxiety, and that was just really popular, especially for teenage girls. Shockingly so, actually. And so parents just asked me, oh, you want to put together a talk? And I did. And we gave a few talks, actually, but what we also did, which was really cool, we lit the practice up with candles after the talk, and we just did candlelight adjusting. And it just went across really well, especially for all the anxious types, So we put some music on. We gave 3 of these talks, and it was just wonderful. So that's the newsletter there. So whether you're doing a newsletter on men's health, anxiety, sleeping, you can turn that into a quarterly kind of content creation for your social media. You can turn that into a content for your talk. It's kind of a system that just keeps going. And this is our community challenge. Someone was talking this morning about permission marketing. This is something I've learned a lot from my friend Martin Harvey. But we do, at the end of each one of our community challenges, we ask every single person, would you like us to let you know when it's on next time? And they all say yes. But because we do them every 6 months, a lot of those people just drop out of care in between time. So what do 6 weeks before the next challenge? We just message them, hey, Bill, you said to tell you. And it's just a great way to reactivate people. Anyone that does our community challenge are actually really good clients. They've really raised their hands and said, hey, Vismai, I'm into this, but life gets in the way and blah, blah, blah. So this is just a great way of reactivating people without reactivating people, in a sense, yeah? So we've just got these sweeping things. Same with the newsletter. We've got our emails list split into 2 lists. One's active clients and one's inactive. For us, if you haven't been in the practice for 3 months, you're inactive. And they go into the inactive email list, and we email them just once a quarter. It's not too intense. They get a copy of this. I don't really care if they read it or not, but I go past their inbox once a quarter. Every quarter we get reactivations because of that. So we get reactivations from the community challenge, we get reactivations from the newsletter without a single call, yeah? I've written 2 books, and you guys can, whoever wants to really just read into all these systems a lot more, you're welcome to take it. It's free with the code there. I've got one for the chiropractors called Keep Your Clients, and the other one's called the CA School. This is how to build the tools, and this is how to drive them. And the CAs, you will get way more meaning with your work if you really know how to drive these tools. You'll create relationships with your clients way beyond the transactional nature of just good rapport or making appointments. You'll really start to know your clients on a different level. Okay, technology. So we're moving forward now. Let's not become obsolete as a profession. We need to kind of pick this up, you know. Chiropractic's not really, I don't know what you guys see on your social media feed, but you can get everything for the nervous system now. None of it's made by chiropractors, and a lot of my clients are now, 10 years ago, they didn't say, I'm going to do Pilates and try and see how that goes, but they do now. Or I'm going to try this buzzy thing in my ear to block out my vagus nerve. All these tools are coming, so we have to compete. So we do need virtual things. So we've done a couple of things this year. So it was like, I guess 6 years ago, I didn't use a normal chiropractic front desk operating system simply because there was no apps with any of the systems. And I wanted an app to occupy space and real estate on people's home screens. I thought it was just really important, and it was, and it works like a treat. So people would buy packages at night, they'd make appointments at night. I made a lot of income from people just watching Netflix and flicking through their phone. It was amazing how many people just consumed on that stupid phone, But that stopped about 2 years ago. It really stopped, and it stopped because the app couldn't compete anymore with Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or, what's the other one? Instagram. The chat on Instagram. So everyone's on those 3 apps. So my app just went obsolete. People just weren't using it anymore, right? And it got even worse. The only time they used it was last minute to make an appointment. So we haven't had a phone call in our office for 6 or 7 years. Like I said, Singapore's a bit ahead of things. But anyway, the app doesn't work anymore. So we've built now ChiroMate, which is a 24/7 AI CA. And it just works way better than a human. But it's not only that it works way better in the sense from it does everything automatically. What it does, it makes this is my CA Verena. She's been working with us for 6 years. It makes Verena's role with all the Vortex tools way, way better because she stopped doing all the repetitive tasks. She stopped having to make invoices or stopped having to remind people or pick up things that got forgotten. AI just does it all, and it does it in a nuanced way. So when I say I'm all in on AI, I mean just for the automatic things of the practice. Like I'm not all in on AI for everything. I think we've got a really bumpy road ahead of us as a profession. But it is a bit like, actually our son has built this for us, Finn. It reminds me of this, right? I was listening to a podcast a while ago and they were talking about what's going to happen with AI, and I really just get into it, something to dwell on. But this was the road, this building here was the road on 5th Avenue in New York in 1900. And there was all horse and carts and one car. And then 13 years later, there was all cars and one horse and cart. But in between the 13 years, it was really interesting. So there was a lot of people in here said, yeah, but what about the people that clean up the poo? What job are they going to go and do? Or there was people thought the car was too fast, it was dangerous. So some of the horse and cart owners, they didn't want to use the car, but they thought, oh, we'll just put the car tyres on the horse and cart. So it made the cart go a bit better, This AI thing is moving so quickly into the city. Even last night, Martin and I went out for dinner, and there was a robot cafe around the corner. It's called Robot Cafe. It was kind of a moment for me, but it's just coming so quickly. And if you don't get onto using that within your practice, it just makes all your systems quite obsolete, So for me, if you guys are all thinking about getting an app now, be careful with that because it's very, very quickly becoming obsolete, actually. The next thing we did was we have built a Chiro ring. So this is something we've been working on the last 4 years, my wife and I, Jyoti. And it's just come out the last 3 to 4 weeks ago now. And basically what this does, it measures the chiropractic adjustment, but it also gives our profession the data. How does this differ from like Aura Ring or the Whoop Band? This is just nervous system top heavy. So Liz was talking this morning about heart-mind sync. what you're going to realize chiropractic does is really cool, because it actually, the adjustment does stuff that I was like, oh, wow. And I think in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I think we're all going to be having, I think it's going to become a utopic time for chiropractic if we all heed Malcolm's warning of let's not, mess it up without doing anything wrong. I believe these sorts of devices that are just wearable are going to show what chiropractic really is about. The biggest thing that happened to me was 4 years ago. A lady, Victoria, she was going on a holiday back to England, and she came in for an adjustment on the way to the airport. Because her heart rate had increased and her aura ring told her the last time she had an adjustment, that decreased her heart rate. And I was kind of shocked by that, right? So then I started geeking out on it. Like, we measured 1,400 adjustments. The biggest thing we found, which is really interesting, and I'd love to get Heidi's take on this, but is it doesn't matter how many adjustments somebody's had, if they've had one adjustment or 100, their deep sleep phase on the day of the adjustment increased between 8 and 14%, really across the board. And that's when the brain cleans itself. It cleans itself during deep sleep. And the chiropractic adjustment makes people sleep deeper. So there's so many implications what's going to come forward from this. And if we can get thousands of users onto this and we all share each other's data, like companies like Whoop or Oro, they just do not let us have access to the data from our adjusting, So that's why we've built this. Our clients love it. They start to refer to me for things that I've never been referred to before. So people send people to me now because their HRV got better. Go and see Vismai. He'll help with your deep sleep phase. I've had a lot more people now coming to us from sleep. I've always had clients with sleep, but for now it's really become a lot more specific. So the goal of that technology is to elevate the human experience. I believe we're all here having a human experience by making the body a better place to be, using the power of personal health metrics. Personal health metrics are extremely powerful. If people use this technology, and my practice, I reckon 4 or 5 years ago, it was like 3 to 4%, and now it's 50% of people are wearing it and using it. So here's one of my clients, Mon. She's just sitting there reading one of our newsletters. So she'll wear her ring, her chiro ring. She'll get adjusted. She presses play, she gets adjusted, and it'll show her heart-mind sync. It'll show the coherence of that. It'll show her heart rate changes. It'll show her heart rate variability changes. And it will show her her neural load, what's happening with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system balance. And that's all at the touch of a fingertip, and people love it, and they can measure it, and they can take it wherever they like. It's uninterruptive technology. There's no bips or screens or anything. It's just so light. So this is what it's going to be measuring. With chiropractic, so we've got these neural support activities. They can come in, they press click to start session, and the chiropractic, they can choose whatever session they're doing. And then it'll just show what happens with the body. It's quite amazing, actually, all at the tip of a finger. And like I said, BJ, I really wish he was alive now. I really do, I really just wish this guy was still with us, because he was such an early innovator of everything. The guy just geeked out on, little things to measure the adjustment and radios. And our profession, this is such a big miss he's not with us. I just don't believe anyone's really stepped up so aggressively as BJ did, So this is my and Jyoti's small effort to really think, oh, fuck it, we're just going to go for it here. And we're just going to just do this in Singapore. And, you're welcome to follow us on Instagram. I'd love the profession's support. We'd love to share all the data with the colleges that want to do research. I think it's going to be a wonderful future for us all. But I'm really grateful for BJ's influence on my life. I just wish he was around more for us now. So chiropractic, let's just tie this up, right? So a deep sense of love and belonging is an irresistible need of all men, women, and children. We're biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to be loved, to give love, and to belong. And when those needs are not met, we don't really function so well as we're meant to. We break, we fall apart, we get sick, we numb, we hurt ourselves with our shitty internal dialogue, we hurt others. we just isolate, you know, and chiropractic's got to be the antidote to this, and I believe we can. So thanks for listening.
Dr. Vismai, I love the simplicity of your practice environment and the approach to your practice itself. Thank you. Good on you. Thank you very much. Dr. Vismai, everybody. Now, normally at this time, there'd be sort of like afternoon tea, but we don't have afternoon tea, but we do have a stretch break in a minute. There's 1 minute. I'm going to introduce right now Dr. John Bassano, who would like 1 minute of your time. So please, if you will. And when you break for this stretch thing, we're in the home straight. Don't be long coming back. We're nearly there. There's a special events towards the end of this afternoon, so please return soon. John? Thank you. Up to you.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to announce really quickly upgraded services that the college is providing. So the diagnostic imaging arm of the college, for the area chiropractors that refer your patients to the college, we will generate those images as well as a report. We're now able to upload those to a server that you will have access to, so you can download those images with the viewer so you can view them with my reports. Yes, that's the new upgrade that is now available to you. Thank you. It's excellent work. In addition to that, always, if you're anywhere in New Zealand and you have an issue and you want to get a report done, you can send me a message and I can generate a report and get that for you. Again, we can transfer DICOM images. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. John, I do have to say one thing. Is there a way that we can recompense the school for that? I mean, are you looking for a donation?